Hello everybody, and welcome to another installment of Mark's Minutes. In this case, for sellers and potential buyers, the topic this week is what happens if that tree on my neighbor's property falls onto mine? Who's responsible, who's at fault, and who's gonna pay? All right, well, this topic comes up because depending on when you watch this last Monday we had a significant windstorm in the Portland metro area, and a lot of trees and branches fell down, including on my own property. I'm working on that one. And that's what's inspired this week. So the question for many property owners and potential buyers and property owners is, if a neighbor's tree falls on my property, let's just say 80% of the tree ends up on my property and the 20%, the root ball, remains on theirs. Who is responsible? Well, under Oregon law, it is not a matter of where the tree comes from, it is where it goes to, whether a tree or branches. And that is the responsible party. So if 80% of that tree falls onto your property, you get that cleanup for the 80% of the tree. It's not your neighbor's responsibility, it's your responsibility because it's where the tree fell to. Now, if it happened to do damage to your property, to say your house or an outbuilding or maybe a vehicle, then in those cases you're going to have a deductible that will apply, and you'll apply any damages and recovery to that insurance policy, whether your homeowner's policy or an automobile policy. That's typically what will apply. Now, if that tree happens to take out your favorite vegetation, all those legacy roses that you have planted, or your aunt's favorite climbing vine, or that maple tree, chances are there's not going to be any coverage for that. It's going to be out of pocket, unless maybe you have an umbrella policy, but then again, those deductibles often are $10,000 deductibles, so they probably aren't even going to be in consideration. Now, you can do what most people do, is you go storming on over to your neighbor and have a rather heated conversation. If that neighbor knows what's going on, they're only going to be responsible from the 20% from the property line on their property, and that's all they're responsible for. Now, they might choose to be good neighbors and negotiate and say, yeah, gee, that's really unfortunate, you're right. I feel bad about that. Let me help you with the recovery. Let's share the cost. Maybe it takes out a fence between the two properties. Now, there is a way to bring some of this into your favor and put some liability onto your neighbor. If you have a neighbor with a tree that appears to be in pretty dire straits, if it's overgrown or is hanging over your property, well, in that case, you can have maybe you have a certified arborist evaluate the tree, come onto your property, look at your neighbor and say, yeah, there's a problem. Now, if they are willing to put an opinion that that is a dangerous tree on your neighbor's property, and you serve notice to your neighbor of that, then that's what you would typically use to then, should something happen in the future, once you've delivered this as probably not a lawyer, but via writing and in mail, maybe via voicemail, that if you delivered that to your neighbor, it is their responsibility to maintain that tree. If that tree later falls, you've at least served notice to them, a professional opinion, of a dangerous tree. And at that point, then perhaps that strengthens your argument to go after them in small claims court for the damages to your property. Now again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an arborist, I'm just sharing some knowledge with you that you may choose to consider both when buying a property that has some neighbor with some fantastic big trees right on the edge and you get to look at them. Just make sure you know which way those trees are going to go and where they're going to go. Second of all, think about it in the future, and if you ever need to borrow a chainsaw, I got one. All right, that's it for this week. That's a 4-minute video. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later.